Oh, I've been trapped in there for ages. Whoever locked me in there? Oh, hello. Coming up in today's video, I'll be discussing the highlights and the lowlights of the last year. I'll also be looking forward to this year and the next 6 months. I'll be talking about where I want to be in 6 months' time, and hopefully this will help you at home. Sort of, if you're new to gardening and you're new to allotment holding, then you can kind of see the progression of my plot. It's just been so busy, just trying to sort everything out. Last year I wasn't really here that much, so I was in 2 places. And so it meant that all my time was kind of just being absorbed into trying to sort the plot out. And that's why I'm doing these videos again and really getting into it this year. And I'm back, and hopefully I can just bring you some inspiration from my plot. You can see my journey as I turn it into something that really looks nice. There's loads of productivity, there's loads of crops coming off as well. Let me know in the comments below, what have you been up to over the last few months? How are your gardens looking? Are you getting time to go out in the garden? Last year was a real mixed bag for me. I had lots of fruit, that was brilliant, I loved it. Apple tree produced lots of fruit. Someone came and took all my pears, which was a bit naughty. The gooseberry, the raspberries, the strawberries, oh, it was delicious, it was so nice. There were lots of successes, but there were also equally quite a lot of disappointments for me. But that was kind of expected. I wasn't here that much, and so the time wrestling between the two meant that I just didn't have enough time to look over all the crops and watch them and feed them. My biggest success last year was the winter salad project that I started. I think I mentioned it in my last video before I went away, but the idea was to grow so many greens in the polytunnel over winter. I had lots of inspiration on Instagram from other gardeners, and I really wanted to have a go and try it myself. I grew pak choi, I grew golden frills, which is a type of mustard. I grew Mitsuna as well, and I did try and grow Celtis. The Celtis and the Mitsuna were the slug's supper. They just decimated them. Funnily enough, the Mitsuna did come back to life, but I didn't really get much of a crop. I would have had to have pulled up the whole plant, and by the time it did come back to life, it was already flowering. That was a real success for me last year, and I want to replicate that again this winter. I had so many leeks last year, in fact too many leeks, and I've had to leave some of them to go to seed. What I'll do is I'll collect the seeds at the end and I'll try and grow them, because I don't think they were F1s. The wildlife will really love the flowers. I'll really love the flowers too, because I haven't actually got that many flowers. Shh, don't tell anyone. I think all round that's just such a good thing. Grow leeks, you don't have to pick them all, leave them to go to flower, get the seeds at the end of the year, and the bees and the butterflies and other wildlife will probably love you for it. It was quite a wet year at the end, and it meant that just a lot of the stuff that I tried to ripen didn't do so well. So that's the tomatoes and the pumpkins. We'll get into that in a moment. The turnips and the radishes were huge and incredible. First year growing them, so I wasn't expecting much. But look at the size of this black Spanish radish. I left that in accidentally, and the pumpkins trailed over and grew over the top, and so I didn't see them for about 3 months. And so they swelled to like the size of Swedes. They're huge. The turnips were delicious, and I really want to grow more of them this year. These were purple Milan. I think I've got some other ones, maybe golden ball coming. I think they're called golden ball. So they'll be coming soon, ready to plant out in July and August. Onto the lowlights. The pumpkins were good, but what happened was the weather just turned really bad at the end of the year. And so a lot of the pumpkins, before they could really get ripe enough, rotted, and which meant that I lost about half of my pumpkin harvest before I got it home, and then the other half had to be used really quickly. The 2 that remained I've kept the seeds for because they were really hard skinned, and actually I think they were 2nd or 3rd generation. One of them turned out really weird, like a really weird shape. It was like a square. So I've saved the seeds for that to see if I can get some better ones either this year or next year. The tomatoes were really, really disappointing. Just non-starters. I think going forward, I'm going to make sure that I've got one really reliable tomato crop, because if I start moving into heritage crops, I find that I get lots of issues. Blight sets in often as well because they're not resistant, they're not F1s. So I think if I can have one really reliable tomato crop, then the others don't necessarily matter so much. The good news about last year is that I made somewhere between 250 and 300 pounds back on all the produce that I grew. Overall though, it was a mixed bag last year, and I sort of resolved at the end of the year to be better this year. And that leads us on to what I'm doing now. The plot is very messy. Down here there are lots of weeds, they're very high. I'm just trying to rescue plants at the moment. On the plots, I didn't really get very much compost down, understandably, last year because I wasn't here. So some of that is rotted in and it's quite dry, the soil. So I'm working on that this year, and I'm kind of just taking the spaces that I can and using them as well as I can. What I want to get out of the plot this year is obviously lots of delicious homegrown vegetables that are organic, so that I don't have to rely on supermarket veg. I also want to turn this into a space that I can really enjoy, and that means getting some flowers on as well, some perennials. Maybe they won't flower this year, and maybe I'm too late for that because it is June, but I can at least get the plot ready for next year, and I can thank myself for it next year. I have lots of potential to unlock on the plot. So there's like raspberries over here that need feeding. The pear tree could do with a bit of a feed. And I'm just making sure that I get around those areas and really try and up them, because I'm going to miss out on certain things this year. It's just a guarantee. The tomatoes are looking a lot better. And what I'm doing this year is I'm feeding them with fish water this year. I'm also going to use comfrey tea and nettle tea just to help my plants along. How the fish water works is it's basically a huge vat of, one of those huge container units. And when it rains, it fills up and the fish live inside, and obviously they're pooping and they're doing all sorts of things in there. And there's plants as well, so it's getting lots of nutrients. And I'm using little bits of that, diluting it with my water. And every week I'm giving the tomatoes that feed, because it will have trace elements in it. So it'll have potassium, it'll have phosphorus, it'll have nitrogen, all those things. But it also have all the little minerals that sometimes we miss. So things like calcium and all those vital things that actually plants need. I've also used manure down on all of the plots, so that's really well fed, aside from the places where I've sown roots. The plants that I'm growing this year, well, I'm trying to grow pretty much everything under the sun, it seems. Starting off with brassicas, I've got broccoli in, I've got some rocket that seems to be springing up everywhere. Squashes in, so I've got a butternut squash plant, I've got pumpkin plants, and some melons in as well. I've got lots of tomatoes growing. The variety Ildi is the one that I'm growing in the polytunnel, and then I've got lots of other ones as well. So I think I've got a Black Russian, and there's a few other varieties that will be popping up. I've also gone for the Mountain Magic variety of tomato, because that is a blight resistant tomato, and I have had really good success with that outside as well. So that is in one of my beds. So far the beetroot, carrots, sort of a lot of the root vegetables haven't really come up the way that I want them to. The peas have been a bit of a disaster. The slugs have just chewed their way through them. So I'm just seeing where I can get to with those plants. Hopefully I can get somewhere with them in the next couple of months. There you have it. There is a quick overview of how the year was for me, what I'm looking forward to this year. Let me know in the comments below, what do you want to achieve on your plots this year? What are you feeling like you can do much better this year? It's always good to learn, isn't it, and improve, and I feel like I'm doing that quite a lot at the moment, just with what's going on here. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for my next video. Don't forget to check out any more of my videos from last year, they're just here. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.